There were rumors going around about some abandoned old silo that had loomed over the woods. The woods were located in the middle of a field of just dirt alongside the railroad tracks. Not like anyone really cares, but it's an eerie sight with just, sitting there, looming over the woods with rust trailing down the sides. Anyways, some rumor it to be haunted by, some old farmer who hung himself in the silo. Takes his revenge on anyone who enters, that kind of thing. I say this rumor is complete bullshit, especially when the ones spreading the rumor try to back up the rumor with the story of some stupid kids who were curious and had gone into the silo, never to come back out. Others say that the silo is just a good hangout spot where people would never find them. So with both positive and negative comments, my geek band of friends and I decided to check it out. We decided to enhance the creepiness by choosing to visit the silo on a gloomy and cloudy day. The day came, and my friends, Pete, Meg, and Wes, met at my house since it was alongside the railway. We had walked along the railway for some time, talking and laughing, having ourselves a good time. Until we saw it. The silo was, of course, just sitting there, looming tall over the trees. Curious, we walked toward it, as our laughter, along with our talking, had died down. The closer we got, the colder the atmosphere felt, as if there was some sort of cold, dark aura radiating from it and sending shivers down all of our spines. Wes even let out a small little yelp. We paced around the circumference of the silo looking for an entrance, and we ended up finding a ladder leading up into the silo itself. The rungs of the ladder were also handles to open hatches all along the side of the structure. And all were locked, except for one. Though it was stuck, so we had Pete climb up and open the hatch, and within a few minutes we were inside the silo, standing on the hay left in there. In the center there was this large hole, deep in the hay. It was dark, but we could hear a steady flow of air coming from the bottom. Now, oddly enough, there was a rope descending into the hole. And since I was the only one smart enough to actually be prepared for this, I took out my flashlight. I held it in my mouth and began to descend. I dropped to the bottom, scanning the small area, and everything seemed safe as I looked at the scattered hay, dirt, and, peculiarly, another hatch. I beckoned for the others to come down. And as they descended, my eye had caught something covering the rope. The color of it being red. I hid my panic and showed the others the hatch that I found. Pete opened it, revealing a dark hole. And I can't describe the smell. The others had sensed it too, and of course Wes had whimpered. Meg ended up gaining the courage to take my flashlight and go first into the hole. We followed her, walking through this dark tunnel for about 10-15 minutes until Meg had told us that we had reached yet another hatch. She opened it. A bright light had filled the tunnel, and that's when we heard it. A piercing shriek, followed by the sounds of something running and panting hard. In a desperate attempt to avoid the creature that had made that horrific shriek, we ran. And once we were out of the tunnel, we slammed the hatch shut, attempting to lock it. The sound had stopped. We all breathed a sigh of relief, and all of us quickly gathered ourselves, observing our current surroundings. We were in a concrete block, which appeared to be an old septic tank, but with an opening at the top, and through that opening we could see the forest above. We began to climb out, and then it happened. Again, we had heard that sound. Wes wasn't even out of the hole yet. This creature had slammed through the hatch, and a sharp clawed hand from the darkness reached out and grabbed Wes's leg tight, pulling him into the tunnel. We heard his terrified screams, and then, as soon as it began, it suddenly stopped. We then heard the sharp snapping of bones and the tearing of flesh. The rest of us frozen in shock. The sound of Wes being killed was revolting. Meg ended up vomiting. It was at this point that we needed to find our way out of the thicket. We searched for a way out for at least an hour, but we concluded that the forest was enclosed in a large perimeter of barbed wire fencing. We panicked. We had no idea what we should be doing. And also realized that this thing comes out in the dark. Night was coming fast, and in a desperate panic, Meg climbed high into a tree, hoping the thing wouldn't find her. Pete found a small hole in the ground to hide in, which was a bad idea. Again, we heard the shriek, and I watched the thing climb out of its home. In my panic, I too quickly climbed up a tree and watched Pete sitting in the hole. I also, to my regret, had gotten a better look at the creature that we were facing. It was the most grotesque thing I had ever seen. Its face was mask-like, pale white against its dark skin. The face seemed to only have 2 dark holes for eyes and a large smile stretching across it. After a few moments of observation, I had soon noticed that it was indeed a mask. A mask made from Wes's skinned face. And I was scared shitless as the thing was crawling toward Pete. I sat in the tree as I watched Pete run in fear, but even that was no use, since the thing caught up to him instantly. It shoved both hands through Pete's chest and tore him apart with ease. Jesus Christ. Its chest opened up, revealing bloody tendrils that wrapped around Pete's head, tearing it off from his mutilated corpse, and slowly pulling it into the empty cavity, sealing it shut. The skinned face of Wes had disintegrated and quickly replaced with a mask made from Pete. Same hollowed eyes and screwed up smile. It then spoke in a soft, raspy voice. I am the Pocket. It proceeded to crawl back into its dwelling, and from the other tree I heard Meg crying. I beckoned for her to climb down as I climbed down myself, and told her that we were getting the hell out of this place alive. Hesitantly, she climbed down, and I went up to the barbed wire fence and gripped the sharp wire, spreading it wide enough for someone to climb through. My hands bled, but I ignored the pain as Meg climbed through the opening. Again, the pocket shrieked, and in my panic, I hastily crawled through the opening and cut myself up bad. Bleeding, I ran with Meg, and I ignored the pain, running until we had breached civilization once again. 10 years have passed since then. And Meg and I were happily married. I say were for a reason. The same reason why I'm telling you this story today. She died a horrible death. I mean, it was so horrible. The police were called to the scene after a couple, going for a walk through the woods, found her mutilated, headless corpse laying at the edge of the woods. And when I say the word edge, it means that it's far from the barbed wire fence. And this can, of course, only mean one thing: that the pocket is free from its prison. Right now I'm looking at our marriage pictures, trying to calm myself down with the happy memories. It doesn't help, though. Because in the reflection of the glass, I see a face slowly coming toward me. It's Meg's face. It's eyeless and has that damn terrifying smile. I can feel its hands pierce through my chest, and at this moment I realize its prime motive. It killed to be free. To free people from the hell that now exists in this world, and I earned the privilege to be freed. And for that, all I can do is smile.